Well, so kind of switching a little bit away from the Yankees and now moving over to Trevor Bauer, who seems to always be in the center of drama or creating drama. So the MLB has already collected baseballs from Bauer's start against the A's, and they are investigating a foreign substance that they found on the baseballs, and they said that it had visible marks on it. So this is coming from the MLB's recent ban and prohibition of sticky substances for pitchers to use on their baseballs. And so they said in the beginning of the season that they were going to really crack down on this more. And so now they're targeting Bauer, or at least that's how he feels. He feels he's being targeted. And so he took to Twitter to voice his displeasure about this matter. And he says that there is no way to prove that the sticky substances or that the marks came from his glove, that you can't tie him to this at all. So, Ryan, what do you think about it? I kind of think he's right. There's no way you can tie him to this. I think it's a little crazy, but I don't know.
No, yeah, I think we're going to have an interesting conversation here because as me and Chris, I think, disagreed in the rundown. And I do think, Dave Roberts, I love that he stuck up for Bauer. He thinks Bauer's being targeted. And I do think this is just a little ridiculous. They said that the balls were sticky. Bauer says it's not from him. I feel like the MLB should be doing more. I don't think this is what they should focus on. But on their sake, Bauer's the perfect guy to go after for a number of reasons. Obviously, he's trashed Rob Manfred. He's thrown him through the mud. He's done everything to really make him on the bad side of the MLB commissioner. So I guess if what I see here is, they're grasping at straws to try to put Bauer down. But the MLBPA has said they're going to challenge any discipline. It looks like Bauer's fighting this a lot. His agent is calling everything on this. So it doesn't look to me like Bauer is necessarily doing anything, too bad. Obviously, I don't have the baseballs. I'm not the MLB. So I'm not going to sit here and say that he is innocent and, he's not doing anything wrong. But to me, just from the outside, it looks like they're just trying to make an example of Bauer to kind of have pitchers in the back of their mind. Remember that the MLB could target you if you're doing something. So I do think that is interesting, but, it's interesting that early in the season, we're already talking Trevor Bauer, and it's not for his on-field performance, it's something off it, which I think is very interesting because Bauer seems to always be in the news for one way or another. We can discuss that later, but I'm not really buying this. I think that I don't see anything big coming from this, but we'll see. Maybe they do find some crazy evidence that Bauer's done something wrong.
Yeah, I'm not a huge Trevor Bauer fan for a couple of reasons. Like what I mentioned before, when the Astros cheated, we know that now, but not in the way that Trevor Bauer, accused them of, which is every pitcher who goes there gets a higher spin rate. Well, you got a higher spin rate last year and you won the Cy Young against teams. So were you cheating too? I don't know. I wonder. Your spin rate can go up. You can practice like that thing. Those kind of things happen. But I think he's very honest about the job that Rob Manfred has done or has not done, and I think that that's good for the game, honestly. But the whole thing with the Mets and his personal store and the hats that say and the shirts, that was ridiculous. That was absurd. that was so. I'm not even a Mets fan. That aggravated me. It was so ridiculous. But in terms of this, I think it's hard to have an opinion until we know if he's getting suspended or not, if he's done it or not. I could sit here and say, yeah, they're targeting him, but if he did it, then they were targeting for the right reasons. I could sit here and say he's a guy who tries to gain competitive advantage, who, similar to if you're a golf person, like he's kind of the Bryson DeChambeau of baseball. It's kind of science-y and does all these weird things. And maybe he put something on his glove or on his mitt or his hand that wasn't allowed to be there and didn't know it. And then it's going to say, well, he should have gotten punished. So it's hard to know really until the report comes out. But it is pretty easy to say now that, yeah, it's looks like he's being targeted, but it's possible, just like anything. It's innocent until proven guilty, but guilty is an option.
Guilty is an option. You're right, Chris, but I don't know. I think that it is a little. Okay, so for starters, I want to say that I don't really respect Trevor Bauer. I think that he blows up on Twitter and that his personal life is too much. It's too much all over the place. And I agree with Chris. The Mets thing was absolutely insane. So I think that he has the potential to go a little off the rails here. But I think that it is kind of a little bit of an unfair targeting only because I am certain that Trevor Bauer is not the only person who puts a sticky substance on their baseballs when they're pitching. You know what I mean? Like that's a widely used practice. And so while I support the MLB banning it and outlawing it and wanting to be more aggressive about it, I think that they have to be aggressive about it maybe in every game then. Like if they really want to crack down on this, then they need to start looking at baseballs from all the times, from every games, not just from like a certain start. Because I imagine that most pitchers are using a substance to help their grip. And obviously I don't know that, I'm not an MLB pitcher, but that would be my thought, is that I think that like Garrett Cole, E-Man had been on here a little while ago and talked about how Garrett Cole is always touching his cap before he pitches. And so it would be a little wild to think that none of them are using a foreign substance. But Trevor Bauer's point is that it's illegal for the pitcher to have like a sticky substance, but it's not illegal for like the catcher to have it on his chest and to like rub his chest and then throw the baseball back. Like, I don't know that you can, just because there is substances found on the baseballs, it could come from anyone in the field. It's illegal for pitchers to have. It's not necessarily illegal for catchers to have, maybe for the first baseman to have. Like, I think that it's hard to say that Bauer is the only one cheating. If he is found cheating, it's hard to be like, oh, it's just Bauer who's doing it. I think that it corroborates the entire team, because he might not have it on his person at all, but the catcher might have it, or the third baseman or something might have it. And when they throw the ball around, it gets on it. And so I just think it's hard to pinpoint. And I think that there won't be any suspension out of this, because it's going to be so incredibly challenging to pinpoint exactly who put the sticky substance on the baseball.
Well, it would open a can of worms if he got suspended, because then that'd have to be the policy going forward. And I don't think anyone wants that. I mean, I don't think that, I get making an example of him and he's the right guy to do it to, which is what I think they're doing. But if you're talking about real discipline here and he does get suspended, that does open up, anything could happen at that point. I want to stand by him on this Mets thing, because he's talked about it a lot. He's been really honest about it. Obviously the Mets hat stuff, that's messed up, but he said it wasn't him. If you think he was updating his website, minutes before he signed to the team, you're crazy. It was
no, come on, but it's his agents, it's his people, it's his.
Yeah, it was his people. His people messed up. Okay, it's not like he was like, "Hey, let's troll the Mets fans."
You don't think he was a part of that? You don't think that he's
no? Well, he's talked about how he saw that, and Rachel Luba talked about how she's never seen him more mad in his life. He couldn't stop cursing. He was so mad. He almost signed with the Mets because of that. It took as they talk about, he had to kind of cool off, go on a walk, because he was so upset at what happened. And he took complete accountability. It's not like he threw the people who messed up under the bus. Everyone who signed up for the hats, he's giving them, entering a raffle for future game. He donated to charity, obviously.
A raffle.
Charity. Obviously that doesn't do everything, but he did take accountability for it 100%. It's not like I know he's trolled in the past, the McGregor strut, all the stuff that he does, the antics. I like it because I think it's good for the game of baseball. As an MLB fan, it's no secret that the game is kind of dying a little bit. And what Bauer's able to do is get people to talk about the game. And so the hat thing, it wasn't him 100%, right? Like, it was his marketing. So I'm not going to just rip him completely for that. He apologized for it. And at the end of the day, I think Bauer is good for baseball. I get why people say he's cocky and all this stuff, but you need personalities, you need stars, and that's what Trevor Bauer is.
My issue really comes with, the hat thing was a little bit ridiculous, but it's like, why are you selling like Mets related merchandise in your? That was a little weird too. Like, don't you kind of know?
I think
why would you make Mets merchandise? Like, that was weird too.
He was really deciding though between the Mets. It wasn't.
It was a mistake. Whatever. My issue really comes with this, because if you remember, the first thing he really got in the news for was cutting his hand on the drone, which is hilarious. But the second thing was the Astros spin rate thing. Every guy who goes to Houston increases their spin rate. Justin Verlander was an afterthought, going to retire. He goes to Houston, he wins a World Series. Garrett Cole gets better from Pittsburgh to Houston. And then last year, whose spin rate increased? Who won a Cy Young? And who took a team to the playoffs single-handedly? Trevor Bauer. Who this year is now being investigated for illegal substance? Trevor Bauer. Your spin rate can increase. That can happen. It doesn't mean that you're cheating. But when your spin rate increases, and then right after that, you're being even if it doesn't happen, you're being investigated for illegal substances, you cannot have it both ways. You can't be the guy who says, I don't like the Astros because they're cheating, but you have no proof of it, and then go out and do the same thing. You can't do that. That's not how it works. I'm sorry. It's not that you just can't do that.
I get that. Yeah. And listen, if it comes out that Trevor Bauer has been cheating and that's why he improved the spin rate, one, he's a huge analytics guy, so I wouldn't put it past him to just simply figure it out there. But if it does
But then
come
why
out,
couldn't the Astros do that? Then why wasn't the thing that Justin Verlander did
right now, I
going
get
to a
it.
new pitching coach and learning how to increase his spin rate? Why did
he was wrong in that sense, but am I going to scold him for accusing the Astros of cheating? Like just in general, no, because it's not like he didn't. He also talked about the lineup. He showed, like he pitched in there in the playoffs. He got rocked by guys that were cheating. So I'm not going to just scold him for, obviously he was wrong on that, but it's like, if there was one team to wrongly accused of cheating in one aspect, it would be the Astros, right? And so if it does come out though that he's been cheating, that's why his spin rate's up. Obviously, huge hypocrite. I wouldn't.
Ryan will be on here issuing an apology.
Yeah, I'll issue a Bauer-like apology. I'll enter a raffle. I'll donate some money. But if that does happen, yeah. But I think it's not inconceivable that he just got better.
I'm not saying that it's inconceivable that he got better, but I have a problem with Ryan, your point of that Bauer is great for baseball. I think Bauer's great for his own personal brand. I don't think Bauer brings any incredible prestige to the MLB. I think Bauer creates antics that increase his own popularity. They don't increase baseball. They don't lift baseball up. It doesn't elevate the league. I think it elevates himself and his social media presence and his brand value. I don't think that he is great. We want more personalities in baseball. I agree, we do. And I think we want players to be more fun and talkable and relate to them on social media. But Bauer is not that person. I think Bauer elevates himself and his level of antics because it supports his own brand and it creates him more recognition. But it doesn't get you talking about baseball. It gets you talking about Bauer. And so I think that that's an important distinction, I feel like.
Yeah, I am with you personally, Kayla, but that's going to end our Trevor Bauer discussion for today.